Hey, hello everybody. Rocco Million, February 8th, 2018 with Real Progressives. Today, I want to talk about the issues of the day, have an informal off-the-cuff discussion. I've been feeling kind of overwhelmed with things at home in my personal life and with the censorship us real progressives get on Facebook and at home, for speaking truth to power. Even our families and friends ostracize us in society, and that's the ultimate form of censorship, to be cut off from family and friends. And so I kind of was getting overwhelmed with everything, and almost at a point where I just wanted to throw my phone away and stop doing live streams and altogether, especially when last week, I couldn't even get, a candidate for Senate, Angelica Earl, on an interview with me. I couldn't even work the technology to do that. And I looked kind of stupid. And, when my heroes are on Real Progressives, intellectual giants, like Dr. Stephanie Kelton, Dr. Bill Mitchell, Ellis Winningham, Dr. Joe Firestone, Steve Grumbine. I get, it's kind of intimidating for someone like me to be able to, do live streams on that same stage when I'm nowhere close to their intellectual equal, But at the same time, that same weakness can be a strength, because I understand where people are coming from. I relate better, I think, to a certain subset of society because I'm not formally educated, and I'm a high school dropout, disabled veteran. And, when I first started learning about economics, this stuff seemed like a foreign language to me. And, only through diving into the material and asking, the silly questions even, and really not being afraid to look bad is the only way I was able to learn our operational reality and have hope. And so that's why I do this. I thank God for Real Progressives, because they give us a grassroots organization that gives us a platform and a voice to reach out and, not just try to inspire other people to do the same, but to, they give us the education and the information we need to affect real social change in our society. We don't fight evil and injustice because we know we're going to win. All right. We fight because, the alternative is to be complicit with a status quo that leaves our kids a future that's worse off. We refuse to lie to ourselves. We refuse to, leave our kids a future that's worse off without at least trying to speak truth to power, without at least trying to unite in solidarity to achieve our progressive goals. It's our civic duty, everyone, to help self-govern ourselves. If we're ignoring the problems, they can't get better. They won't get better. And so this is why I fight. This is why we all fight. It's not about winning. We want to win, obviously, but this is about doing everything in our power to fight back. Okay. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the DNC and all this Russia bullshit that everybody sees every day on TV, and first of all, I want to make it clear, I believe Russia did interfere. I believe they've always interfered with us, like we always interfere with the world and with them. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't think that it had any real consequence either way what Russia did. Russia didn't force America to inflict economic and police terror on the black community or on the poor, and it didn't expose those facts either. People live this every day. They don't need Russia to tell us. All right. If we're going to talk, though, about elections and we're going to talk about interference in our elections, we need to start, maybe where the DNC argues in open court that their own members have no right to democratically choose who wins their own primary. Maybe that would be a good starting point. Or maybe the fact that we don't even have fair and free elections to begin with. The Electoral College and gerrymandering are specifically designed to subvert the will of the people. But tell me again how Russia is a threat. Okay, come on. This is insanity. We need to start getting real and speaking the hard truths, or else we're not going to overcome these issues. I think that we have to, if the rest of the progressives in the Democratic Party would leave and them exit, by tomorrow morning, they would adopt a truly real progressive platform. All right. They would represent that. They would be forced to represent labor first and foremost. All right. People could even them enter for a day to elect the progressive Democrats in their race. Because in a lot of races, there's only a choice between a Republican and a Democrat. But if that choice is between two right-wing Republicans, there's no point in even voting in that, So I think the best thing we could do is never donate money to the DNC, because again, the DNC says in open court, in the DNC fraud lawsuit, that they're under no obligation to use your donation for what you want it to go for. If you donate money to Bernie when he's running as a Democrat, they say they're a private entity. They don't have to use your money for Bernie's campaign. They could go ahead and apply your money to Bernie's rival, Hillary Clinton. They said in open court they are under no obligation to, let their own members democratically choose who wins their own primary. This is the real problem, okay? Not Russia. Russia didn't force the Democrats to do that, all right? And, the fact is the DNC was more concerned with with Bernie and with the progressive wing of their own party than with beating Donald Trump. So they don't get to turn around now and cry Donald Trump and push the lesser evil narrative again. No. And we can't be stupid enough to let them do that. Honestly. They're telling us this. This isn't a secret. They do this. They did this in open court. Go look it up. It's well documented. All right. Or let's talk about the fact that our vote is suppressed from go. All right. We charge people with felonies for, vice crimes of consent for adults, I could have my rights taken away because I like to smoke a flower, so I can't vote anymore? Really? All right. That's not Russia forcing our country to do this stuff. All right. This has nothing to do with Russia. And the problems we're facing have nothing, they were here long before Trump. So, it's disingenuous at best to focus on Russia interfering in our elections when, we don't have fair and free elections to begin with. We need a true MMT labor party, a true party that represents the bottom income distribution first and foremost. Okay. Because, the Democratic version of trickle down is still trickle down economics. It's still voodoo economics. Just because you focus on the middle income distribution doesn't mean that it's not trickle down. All right. Demand doesn't trickle down, guys. It's been proven wrong time and time again. Demand travels up. When we guarantee the jobs of the bottom income distribution, since they make up the largest segment of society, the more they have, the more they demand and guarantee the jobs of the skilled and educated above them. That's real macroeconomics. That's bottom up. That's the only way that our government can satisfy its constitutional mandate to the general welfare. It's the only way to get a sustainable, balanced economy where everybody derives good benefit from. All right? We don't, we can meet everybody's base needs in America. There's no need for anybody to go without the basic necessities of life. Housing, shelter, food, healthcare, education. Whoop. Sorry about that. More technical problems with this dumb phone in my holder. But so this should be the litmus test. If you truly represent labor, then you should represent the bottom income distribution first and foremost. Our government should always work for the public purpose first and foremost and let individuals make what they can from that. Our government should never work for the private purpose of the individual and make society make do with that. That's fascism. We have a government for one reason, and it's to maintain the general welfare of society. That's it. It's not complex. All right. Our government, Article 1, Section 8, mandates our government mint and tax to provide for the general welfare of society, not for the private purpose of the capitalist class at society's expense. Okay? So both parties from the 70s have teamed up to kill the full employment policies of the New Deal. They teamed up to usher in this neoliberal nightmare that we find ourselves in today. All right? Where we starve the economy of public spending and instead force the majority into copious amounts of private debt just to consume production and survive and to pay ongoing tax obligations. That's the neoliberal way, to privatize and deregulate the public space. All right? The only way we're going to beat that is through knowledge of our operational reality, MMT. All right? MMT destroys the neoliberal myths, and it destroys the neoliberal narrative that keeps us from uniting in solidarity. When people believe the government is broke, they're less likely, when people believe government's broke, they're less likely to fight for people at the bottom, people with less than them, because to do so means that they're going to get less of the pie. All right. But our society, life is not a zero-sum game like that. Our government isn't funded by the private sector. All right. We don't need tax dollars. There's not a finite pie. Dollars are not finite. They're infinite. We're only constrained by real resources. All right. And we can increase the supply of real resources with our infinite dollars, being net importers. We can also increase the supply of real resources if we have unemployment. That means we have untapped productive capacity. That means that with a federally guaranteed living wage job program, we can increase the production of just about any real resource needed for the general welfare of society. All right, anything less than that is artificial scarcity. It's pointless suffering and death. All right, and to be complicit with that is to be, a murderer by proxy, as Steve Grumbine always says. And it might sound harsh, but it's a fact. If I was sitting here telling you that, we knew such and such for a fact was a pedophile and that was wrong and we should, execute them, or at the very least chemically castrate them. Nobody would be sitting here saying that I'm wrong or critiquing my delivery. All right. They would be agreeing. All right. But yet when I say that our government shouldn't inflict economic and police terror, I'm called a radical. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. What's radical is our status quo. And until regular people like me and you start getting up and speaking truth to power everywhere we go, making everybody face these facts, nothing's going to change. All right. We have to put this truth in everybody's face. Nobody should be comfortable with these facts present. All right. This is an area where righteous anger is needed. And if you don't have that, you're part of the problem. I'm sorry, but I'm not pulling punches anymore. Okay. People are dying out there. And for people like right now, people in the mainstream are saying that, our economy is doing great. We're at full employment. And that's insane. We have 4% unemployment. That means we have millions of people unemployed, millions more underemployed. Okay. How is that a booming economy? All right. Our wages have been stagnant since the 70s, while production and corporate profits and cost of living has skyrocketed. How does that classify as a booming economy? It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, if we have to balance our economy on the backs of our most vulnerable for it to work, then, maybe we need to change a few things. All right, maybe, we need to reevaluate our positions in the first place. This isn't rocket science, guys. It really isn't. If I can understand it, then anybody can understand this stuff. I think that we have to really do some soul searching, and we have to counter all the naysayers who are out there repeating bullshit mainstream talking points. All the people that shit on our good ideas without even offering an intellectual rebuttal or alternative. We have to have a counter voice to that, and this isn't about, we have to be the counter voice to all the people spreading defeatism, saying that, we might as well not try because, we're powerless to affect real change. All right. That's bullshit. We, the people, have all the power in our society. When labor unites in solidarity, we can't lose. It's impossible. We're the majority. There is no society without us. If we stay home from work for one day, America grinds to a halt. Okay, we could go back to work the next day and leverage that capability to get our demands met. On that day, even the most greedy government has to meet our demands. On that day, it doesn't matter who is in office. Okay, the 1% become irrelevant. All right? We have to understand this stuff to be able to move forward, to be able to achieve our progressive goals. When we, MMT just describes our operational reality. That's it. All right. Once you understand that operational reality, certain policy becomes obvious, like full employment and things like that. But, the knowledge of the operational reality doesn't change if Reagan's president or Obama, just how that knowledge is applied, whether or not that knowledge is applied for the public purpose or not. That's it. And if the public doesn't understand that information, then that makes it more likely that they can use it against us. All right. When we think the government is broke, we accept, pointless austerity that kills just like bullets. All right. The MMT destroys that narrative. It destroys those talking points with simple logic and common sense. All right. this Real Progressives offers us this platform. It gives us a voice to reach out and inspire others and teach others. People like me, a high school dropout, a disabled veteran, a grunt. I can learn this stuff and understand it well enough to feel confident enough to come on live and help teach it to other people. I mean, that's a powerful, powerful thing. And this is why Facebook is censoring us so much, because they see that this is real power. We, the people, have a vehicle through social media that we can take back our power and our leverage. And that scares them shitless. All right, the last thing in the world the ruling class want is for the public to understand that our government can create dollars at any time to spend on society and take care of its congressional obligation. I mean, it's a constitutional obligation to the general welfare. They don't want us to understand that because it makes them irrelevant. All right, we don't need their money. We don't need them at all. Capital flight don't even hurt us. You know, our government funds the private sector. It's never the other way around. Federal spending funds taxpayers who then pay tax or buy bonds or whatever. It's never vice versa at the federal level. It can't be. It's impossible. It's like starting a game of Monopoly by collecting rents. It's just impossible. Money always needs to be issued first. All right? That's not a hard concept to understand. Granted, it's very counterintuitive because how we think of our own household budget has very little, if nothing, to do with a monetarily sovereign government that makes its own money. All right? Because we are, as our household, we are revenue dependent. All right? We can't create our own money. So debt for us means something very different than it does for the general welfare. Yeah, I see Dr. Firestone put his excellent article up in the comment section, and everybody needs to read this. It shatters that neoliberal narrative, all right, that we hear so much. When it comes to the debt ceiling, he points out that we have many more options than we hear about in the mainstream. Okay? The only option isn't raising the debt ceiling. It's not even repealing the law of the debt ceiling. You know, he developed this simple yet revolutionary language, this overt financial or overt congressional financing clause. And what this clause would do is it would eliminate the operationally obsolete practice of offsetting deficits with bonds. That's it. And it's operationally obsolete, so we don't need to do it. And and then the second part of the clause appropriates the money needed to pay off existing debt instruments as they fall due for that year of the appropriation. So with this language included in every spending bill and every appropriations bill, we can effectively take the scare tactic of the national debt off the table. That's the ruling class's number one tool that they use to instill fear in us, to get us to accept intentional poverty, intentional unemployment, to get us to accept austerity that kills like bullets. All right, but it isn't even just that thing, though. You know, Dr. Joe will point out that since 1996, you know, our government has the ability for the executive branch to mint a platinum coin and credit its spending account at the Federal Reserve with the seigniorage. So it avoids needing to raise the debt limit that way. You know, and there's all kind of other things. Read that article and mass share it, please, because this is the stuff that gives us our power back. This knowledge is revolutionary in and of itself. There's nothing more important we could be doing right now. All right. This is the single most important message we can do. We can be involved with. All justice starts with economic justice. All right. Every issue in society has its economic roots, and it has its macroeconomic remedy. All right. That don't mean it's a silver bullet, but it does mean that, we can definitely be doing better than what we're doing now. There's no doubt. There's no doubt at all. So I just want to make, make it clear that, there is hope. We do have hope. We can unite in solidarity. MMT is the revolutionary vehicle we've all been waiting for. Okay, I call it neoliberal kryptonite because it destroys the capitalist lies and talking points that keep us from uniting in solidarity. And it does this with common sense and logic. That's it. That's it. And although it's counterintuitive at first, if you dive into the information, you can overcome any cognitive dissonance that's associated with it. Because it's so logical, but you first have to learn and learn the whole thing before you start trying to poke holes. Because when I first started learning this stuff, I thought that there was all kind of holes too. But I didn't understand it. Once you understand it, it makes sense and you get it. And there's no other way for it to work. MMT is the first time I ever heard economics make sense. Although when I was in college and I learned about 5% unemployment really being full employment, it made no sense, but I still didn't even question it. This stuff really turns that neoliberal narrative on its head, and it shows us what's possible. When our government works for the public purpose first and foremost. Okay, so that's what we need to do. We need to focus on this. We need the most honorable thing we could be doing is, standing up for the poor and the disenfranchised and the vulnerable among us. All right. So as much as we may feel overwhelmed or we may feel reluctant to make ourselves targets, we need to be doing this because things ain't going to get better until we do. All right. And so that's what I'm here to do. That's what I want to inspire you to do. You don't have to be a PhD to get this. You don't have to be a PhD to talk about it. All right. You just have to have passion. You have to have heart. You have to have dedication, commitment, honor. That's it. But we're all Americans. We all need to take responsibility, not just for ourselves, but for our socially owned government. Okay? Because if we don't, nobody else will. It's that simple. So with that, I'm going to say take it easy. Make sure you tune in to Dr. Joe Firestone tonight at 9 p.m. He's going to be interviewing, I forget who, but I guarantee it will be good, as it always is. Dr. Joe is an endless fountain of knowledge that we can all use for ourselves and for the betterment of society. So tune in, guys. Take it easy. Thanks for checking it out. Peace.